Hello everyone, welcome back to our mathematics class. Today we are going to learn a very interesting chapter, lines and angles. Look around you, the edges of your notebook, the corners of your classroom, the hands of a clock, railway tracks, roads, and even the letter A are all connected with lines and angles. In this chapter we will understand the difference between a line segment, and a ray. Then we will learn what an angle is, different types of angles, pairs of angles, and finally the relationship between angles formed by parallel lines and a transversal. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify different kinds of angles and solve questions confidently. So, let's begin our journey. Before learning about angles, we must understand the basic building blocks of geometry. The first concept is a point. A point only shows a position. It has no length, no breadth, and no thickness. We usually represent a point using a small dot and name it with capital letters like A or B. Now let's move to a line. A line extends endlessly in both directions. It has no starting point and no ending point. That's why we draw arrows on both sides of a line. Next is a line segment. A line segment is only a part of a line. It has two fixed endpoints. Since it has fixed endpoints, we can measure its length. Now look at the ray. A ray starts from one point but continues forever in one direction. It has one endpoint and one arrow. Let's revise. A point shows a location. A line has no endpoints. A line segment has two endpoints. A ray has one endpoint. Pause the video and try to identify one example of each from your surroundings. Now let's understand the most important concept of this chapter, the angle. An angle is formed when two rays meet at a common endpoint. This common endpoint is called the vertex. The two rays are called the arms of the angle. Suppose the common point is O, then the rays OA and OB form an angle. We write it as angle AOB or angle BOA. Remember that the middle letter always represents the vertex. Angles are measured in degrees, and the symbol for degree is this small circle. For example, we can say the angle measures 45 degrees or 90 degrees. Think about a pair of scissors. When you open the scissors, the two blades make an angle. Similarly, the hands of a clock also form different angles throughout the day. Can you tell what angle is formed when the time is 3 o'clock? Yes, it is a right angle of 90 degrees. Excellent. Now that we understand how angles are formed, let's move ahead and learn the different types of angles. Now that we know what an angle is, let's learn about the different types of angles. Angles are classified according to their measure. The first type is the acute angle. An acute angle is greater than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees. For example, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 75 degrees are all acute angles. You can think of the sharp tip of a pizza slice or a narrow open pair of scissors. Next is the right angle. A right angle measures exactly 90 degrees. It forms the shape of the English letter L. Look around your classroom. The corner of the blackboard, a book, a window, or a table usually forms a right angle. The third type is the obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Examples include 100 degrees, 120 degrees, and 150 degrees. Notice that an obtuse angle is wider than a right angle. Now let's learn about the straight angle. A straight angle measures exactly 180 degrees. It looks just like a straight line. The next type is the reflex angle. A reflex angle is greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. Imagine turning a door almost completely around or rotating a wheel more than halfway. Finally, we have the complete angle. A complete angle measures exactly 360 degrees. This means one complete rotation. For example, the second hand of a clock completes one full turn in 60 seconds. Let's revise quickly. Acute means less than 90 degrees. Right means exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse means more than 90 but less than 180. Straight means 180. Reflex means between 180 and 360. Complete means exactly 360 degrees. Pause the video and identify one example of each angle around your home. Now let's study different pairs of angles. The first pair is complementary angles. Two angles are called complementary if their sum is 90 degrees. For example, 30 degrees plus 60 degrees equals 90 degrees. Remember, each angle does not have to be equal. Only their total should be 90 degrees. Next are supplementary angles. These are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. For example, 110 degrees plus 70 degrees equals 180 degrees. Now let's understand adjacent angles. Adjacent angles share a common vertex and one common arm. They are next to each other without overlapping. Next are vertically opposite angles. These are formed when two lines intersect each other. A very important property is that vertically opposite angles are always equal. No matter how the lines are drawn, opposite angles always have the same measure. Finally, we have the linear pair. A linear pair consists of two adjacent angles lying on a straight line. Since they form a straight angle, their sum is always 180 degrees. Let's remember these 5 important facts. Complementary equals 90 degrees. Supplementary equals 180 degrees. Adjacent angles share one arm and one vertex. Vertically opposite angles are always equal. Linear pair angles are adjacent and add up to 180 degrees. Now we will learn one of the most important topics in this chapter. Look carefully at the figure. Here, lines L and M are parallel. A third line cuts them. This line is called a transversal. Whenever a transversal cuts two parallel lines, several special angle relationships are formed. The first relationship is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are always equal. The second relationship is alternate interior angles. These angles lie inside the parallel lines on opposite sides of the transversal. They are also equal. Next are alternate exterior angles. These lie outside the parallel lines on opposite sides of the transversal. Again, these are equal. Finally, we have co-interior angles, also called same-side interior angles. These angles are not equal. Instead, their sum is always 180 degrees. Remember one very important point. These properties are true only when the two lines are parallel. If the lines are not parallel, these angle relationships do not necessarily hold. So always check whether the lines are parallel before applying these rules. Let's revise everything we have learned. Acute angle is less than 90 degrees. Right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse angle lies between 90 and 180 degrees. Straight angle measures 180 degrees. Reflex angle lies between 180 and 360 degrees. Complete angle is 360 degrees. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Vertically opposite angles are always equal. Corresponding angles are equal for parallel lines. Alternate interior and alternate exterior angles are also equal. Co-interior angles always add up to 180 degrees. If you remember these points, solving questions becomes much easier. Now it's your turn. Let's solve some practice questions together. Question 1. Find the complement of 37 degrees. Pause the video and calculate. Since complementary angles add up to 90 degrees, subtract 37 from 90. The answer is 53 degrees. Question 2. Find the supplement of 115 degrees. Subtract 115 from 180. The answer is 65 degrees. Question 3. One angle is 3 times the other, and together they are supplementary. Let the smaller angle be x. Then the larger angle is 3x. 4x equals 180. So x equals 45 degrees. The other angle is 135 degrees. Question 4. A corresponding angle measures 72 degrees. What is the other corresponding angle? Since corresponding angles are equal, the answer is 72 degrees. Question 5. Can vertically opposite angles ever be different? No. They are always equal. Excellent work. Now let's look at some NCERT style examples. Whenever you see a complementary angle question, remember to subtract the given angle from 90 degrees. For supplementary angle questions, subtract the given angle from 180 degrees. If a question says an angle is 5 times its complement, first form an equation and then solve it step by step. For intersecting lines, always remember that vertically opposite angles are equal and linear pairs add up to 180 degrees. When solving triangle questions, use the fact that the sum of all 3 angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. For parallel lines cut by a transversal, carefully identify whether the angles are corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or co-interior before applying the correct property. Always write the reason beside every step in your solution. This makes your answer easy to understand and helps you score full marks. Congratulations! Today we learned the basic concepts of geometry, including points, lines, line segments, and rays. We understood how angles are formed and how they are measured. We studied the 6 types of angles. We learned different pairs of angles such as complementary, supplementary, adjacent, vertically opposite, and linear pair. Finally, we explored the relationship between angles formed when a transversal cuts 2 parallel lines. Remember, mathematics becomes easy with regular practice. Complete all the practice questions from your textbook and revise today's key points once again. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more mathematics lessons.